Welcome everyone to the first episode of the Prepare for Launch Ni no Kuni series. It's Has here and I'll guide you in your next 7 days to make sure you know and understand everything you should to have a smooth experience and enjoy Ni no Kuni. Today's episode 1 is a big one and we're going to be talking about a character class tier list for the game that I've done my best to research and be able to show an accurate and realistic picture of what to expect. I've already seen a few lists floating around without explanations, but in this one I'll go through the whys and the exact reasons why I placed the classes in this certain order. Now before we begin, I feel it's a must to say, please I urge everyone that whatever you hear, either here or from other people, please choose a class that you like and vibe with, because this is a long-term MMORPG with a big focus on concentrating on a single class. And you'll be looking at the same abilities and character for months to come. And you don't want to regret your selection because you chose a class based on what others said. The game is actually pretty well balanced and a big majority of your power will depend on your items, familiars, and the amount of time you invested, and not which class you play as. Now let's begin. So as we know, Ni no Kuni has at least 2 gacha elements in the beginning that affects your power, which are weapons and familiars, and they're by far the biggest part of your effectiveness. And they're pretty much up to luck what you'll be getting. Apart from that, almost everything you do in the game will be party-based, whether it be PvP or PvE dungeons, and each class has a very defined role and purpose to fulfill. Meaning even if there was a reliable way to determine solo class effectiveness, it is irrelevant in the big picture because the game will be all about teamwork and synergy. So with that said, the tier list I'm presenting today will be based on the only thing I consider a viable tier list, and that is free-to-play friendliness, or in other words, how easy it will be to reach maximum effectiveness and potential with a class. Keep in mind, ability names might be different in the final game, but you should still recognize them from the pictures. I'll be going through each character one by one, presenting what I think are their most powerful unique abilities, and explain why I rank them where I did. Let's start with Destroyer. Destroyer is our CC and defense-oriented class, and it's heavily reflected in his abilities. His most powerful class ability is definitely Warcry. Not only does this ability have an amazing damage scaling, but it's also low cooldown. It taunts enemies in both PvE and PvP and reduces base attack damage taken by the Destroyer up to 50%. It's a fantastic ability that needs no more explanation, but the downside is that you either have to spend money to grab and level this ability, or you have to pray for a super rare world boss drop. Gravitrum Pull is another fantastic tool in Destroyer's arsenal. It's once again a fantastic damage scaling ability that also pulls enemies closer to the Destroyer. It's hard to use but combos really well with its other abilities. The damage scaling and its utility alone places it high for our abilities. Luckily, this one can be easily leveled up by buying subjugation tokens available to everyone through playing. For third ability, I decided for Frost Shield, as it also synergizes well with the rest of the Destroyer's abilities, while providing protection and valuable movement slow debuff against enemies. Jump in, pull enemies together, taunt, Frost Shield, spin to win, and you have yourself a full Destroyer Wombo combo. Frost Shield is a starting ability, so you'll have it from the get-go, and it's also easily leveled up by tokens. For his passives, I chose Indomitable Soul, Oath of Revenge, and Counter Slow. Indomitable Soul will heal for a massive amount continuously when the Destroyer gets on low health, allowing him to recover easily or stay in battle and tank. This is definitely their strongest passive in my opinion. It can be leveled up by tokens, so easily leveled. Oath of Revenge will buff your defense, attack speed, and movement speed when taking larger damage from enemies. It's just multiple layers of valuable buffs, though with a large cooldown of 90 seconds. It's also free-to-play friendly and can be leveled by tokens. And finally, you have Counter Slow, which has a chance to slow your attacker's attack and movement speed when they hit you. And if you know Destroyer, they get kited, they're bulky, so slowing enemies, especially Rogue and Engineer in PvP, is vital. This one on the other hand is through the shop and will require paying. Destroyer has lots of great abilities as you can see, but since both their best active and passive ability is locked behind RNG, Destroyer has lots of great abilities as you can see, but since both their best active and passive ability is locked behind RNG or a paywall unfortunately, to fully enjoy the kit they offer, I consider them a bit lower on the free-to-play tier list, having to place them in A. Don't be discouraged, you can still play Destroyer and be very strong. Remember, this is based on reaching maximum effectiveness. Next one, Engineer. Where to start? Engineer has everything. Their best ability I consider Healing Tree, which is also the best heal in my opinion for Engineer. Healing your party in a circle 8 times up to 40%. It heals everyone equally with a relatively low cooldown. Is just really efficient. The downside is that Healing Tree is somewhat of a rare book from the Genie in-game lottery or by winning Kingdom vs Kingdom capital battles, but still not behind the paywall. If unlucky, you can always still use Flash Heal, which is not much behind in healing, though not as good as Healing Tree, but its big upside is that it's cheap token upgrade skill. Next one is our Resurrection. This one is a no-brainer, the only revive in the whole game, so it needs no explanation and can be leveled up by tokens, so accessible to everyone. And finally, Time Leap is Engineer's best buff and one of the best buffs in the whole game. It reduces cooldown times for basic abilities of everyone in the party, while also increasing damage dealt of those abilities. It's probably the biggest damage buff in the game if used properly by everyone. It can also be leveled up by tokens. As for her passives, I chose Medic first, as it increases their healing and barrier abilities by up to 15%. They're the main heal class, and this increases healing. Straightforward choice. It is a free-to-play friendly and another token skill. For second, I think Protection of Light is a very valuable passive for Engineer. Since they are the main healer, it's also vital to stay alive, and this gives us amazing barrier. A dead healer is no healer after all. It's another easy token skill as well, so easy to level up. And for the last, Fast Trick is the cream on top, where your auto attacks reduce your cooldown times, which is incredible, especially as a support character. It benefits not just you, but everyone around you, making it probably the best passive. Unfortunately, it's a late reward for level 110 and 120, or you have to pay for it. You can probably feel it, but Engineer is not only a support character that doesn't rely as much on equipment and familiars to be valuable to a team, but almost all of their best abilities are straight up accessible to everyone, making it, in my opinion, the most free-to-play friendly class, placing her straight at the top of SS rank. Next one, we'll look through Swordman, the hybrid class. Swordman starts immediately with their most powerful ability for free, Siphon Blade, that debuffs enemies and buffs his team at the same time with defense up and defense down. It's quite a no-brainer, and on top of it, it can be leveled up by tokens. Guardian Sanctuary is also a token skill, and oh my. It's a buff that scales incredibly well in numbers and buffs attack damage, attack speed, and movement speed for everyone, truly making Swordman shine as a support. And for his third ability, I would take Arcane Barrier. It is a giant AoE shield that can reduce damage taken by up to 40% for everyone in it, while blinding enemies, making it an incredible defense buff. Sadly, it is a rare drop where you have to purchase it in the shop. Honorable mention though to Fire of Life that can replace Arcane Barrier. It's a starting party heal that's almost as good as Engineer's and can be cheaply exchanged for tokens. His best passives on the other hand are sadly hard to acquire. Death Seal is absolutely bonkers. It boosts your damage and stuns enemies for 2 seconds with a fairly low cooldown. If you're an aggressive swordman, this ability is nuts, but sadly, it's behind the pack shop wall. Fortress is a stacking defense passive that if you're in the heat of battle, you can keep it up pretty much 100%, making it the best protection passive for swordmen. But sadly, it's a rare lottery reward from the Genie, though still free to acquire. And third, an honorable mention to Defense Call that's a fairly low activation chance defense buff for the whole party that isn't as effective at start, but if fully leveled it scales really well and can become party-wide Fortress. Fortunately, this one can be and should be leveled by tokens. While Swordman definitely has a lot of very easily acquired abilities that are very useful and he absolutely does not need the ones barred behind paying, those abilities are especially good when it comes to how much he could do if only you had them. And sadly, it drags down Swordman down a bit in free-to-play friendliness, making me place him only in S rank. Now let's go on with Witch. Witch is our pure damage glass cannon class. Her best ability by far, in my opinion, is Crystal Wave, capable of dealing high scaling damage and stun multiple times in a row if placed right, serving as amazing combo starter and both offensive and defensive ability. This ability is just nuts. This ability is the best combo starter for Witch by far. Sadly, it is a rare world boss drop or behind the paywall. Along with Crystal Wave, we also have Blink, which is a teleport and invulnerability window for Witch, that can be used again both for attacking and escaping, and combined with Crystal Wave can be really nasty. In itself, it's a teleport and invulnerability, so even without its combo capabilities, it would be top tier ability. Unfortunately, it is a rare prize from the Genie lottery, so it will require time and dedication. For last, we have Deadly Spike, which is Dark AoE ability that increases damage taken by all enemies. Not only it increases damage taken by them, but it also deals fairly good damage in the meantime, making it one of the better support abilities. Fortunately, this one can be leveled by tokens. For passives, I went for Armor Crash that's a stackable defense debuff on enemies. It benefits everyone and stacks. No brainer, especially that it's easy to level up with tokens. Next one, we'll see how they translate it, but it's Meikyo Shisui. Every 8 normal attack will increase your damage and guarantees you a critical hit, which attacks very fast and has multiple ways to increase her attack speed. If you can master this ability and set up your combos well, it's a must pick. Sadly, once again, it's a rare lottery from the Genie. For last, some good news. I choose Rapid Stream that gives a chance to increase the whole team's attack speed. Especially great in combo with Meikyo, and as a token skill, so very accessible. While useful, sadly, this is really most effective if you can combine it with Meikyo, which is an incredibly strong class with insane potential as both a DPS and damage support at the same time. But without question, their best abilities are all behind either heavy RNG or having to pay, placing her as the least free-to-play friendly class. Now please remember that this is not Doom Talk, which is still very powerful regardless. You can also get lucky, and there are other ways to play Witch effectively. This is just my ranking based on how easy it is to reach their maximum potential, so don't let it sway you too much. And for the final class, we have Rogue, a ranged DPS and support Wolf Boy. Their best ability, no questions asked, is Blazing Heart. This ability is easy to level up through tokens and can reach 15% damage buff for 20 seconds for the whole party with a 30-second cooldown. This is basically flat 15% buff with a short downtime. Solo Flare is one of their best damage scaling ability, and on top of it, it has great utility. It's an AoE slow and stun, combos really well with multi-shot, and has synergy with the rest of Rogue's kit. And it is a token ability, easily leveled. For third, their Gravity Arrow is incredible. Definitely a hard use ability with a very long cooldown, but it immobilizes enemies caught, comboing perfectly with Solar Flare and all other abilities. This is possibly the safest and best combo setup ability in the game in my opinion. On the flip side, it's a world boss or shop skill, so very hard to level. Rogue's passives are just incredible, and they complement his playstyle perfectly. Quick Move is a passive movement speed buff, he's a long-range archer, and he's fast. Well, putting 1 and 1 together, this is incredible kiting passive and can be leveled up fast with tokens. Burst Charge is kind of tricky, I wasn't sure about this one, but it increases the amount of times your whole party can use their burst ability, and it's just too valuable to pass up I think. Especially that it's technically free as it's a token exchange passive. Lastly, Enmity. This ability looks like a double-edged blade, but let's take a look. It boosts both your attack and your damage taken when attacking, and it stacks up 5 times. Now if you play unsafe without strategy, this will kill you and it sucks. But if you play smart, you learn to kite and play well in a team, this is straight up damage buff for Rogue without any downsides whatsoever. Unfortunately, this is also a pack shot passive, and it's a pain to get, you have to pay for it. Rogue is just incredible. While some of his better abilities are locked behind RNG and paywall, none of those are vital to truly unlock his maximum potential and his core support. A skilled Rogue will be able to play this class to its full extent and be strong as both DPS or a support by just unlocking token skills, placing them right next to Engineer in double-ass rank. And now we have a full picture of the rankings that I personally think is accurate considering the effort it takes to reach each class's potential. In the end, whatever this ranking is, you can still get lucky or unlucky. That changes the outcome. And there are so many other factors that contribute to what experience you'll have in the game. It's a team game after all, and you will depend a lot on your friends. Don't let this tier list discourage you if you're a bit lower in the ranking. Rather, take it as a great plan on what you'll have to save or work for to really bring out the maximum power of your character. But everyone, this is my ultimate and final character class tier list that I consider true for Ni no Kuni Crossworlds. Hope it was clear and enjoyable, and I certainly hope it helps more than hurts. Launch is almost here. I'll be back tomorrow with episode 2 of our Prepare for Launch guide. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.